What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sloppy Saturdays. And today we are going to go over our Heisman update. Now, this is our first Heisman update, and this comes really late because I believe throughout the whole entire season, everything has been shifting. We have seen different Heisman leaders all throughout the season. Nobody has really, in my opinion, separated themselves from the pack yet. So I wanted to wait till a little bit late till the cream rises to the top. And now I feel like we really have our candidates that one of them is going to be the Heisman at the end of the season. We finally got the group of where I think about four people are going to come out of and be in New York for the Heisman ceremony. Now, I want to get into each Heisman. I want to get into what I believe their odds are going to be. And right now, who I believe should be the Heisman Trophy winner. Now, they all definitely have different cases. I'm going to state why I believe in them or don't believe in them for the Heisman. Now, one person I do want to talk about right off the bat is Haynes King. I believe if the Heisman ceremony ended today, if the Heisman ceremony was tomorrow, Haynes King might be the Heisman Trophy winner. But you might be questioning, why is Haynes King at plus 2,500 then? Georgia Tech is 8-0. I feel like when you talk about impact to a team, Haynes King has probably more impact than possibly anybody on this list. When we look at Georgia Tech, we thought they were going to be pretty good, but their expectations definitely right now, they're exceeding them. They're undefeated in the ACC. They're the top team in the ACC right now. But the book's job, especially when it comes to Heisman and MVP, and it's even like this in the NFL when you look at Daniel Jones odds compared to Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Even if a quarterback is playing way better than another quarterback, the odds might not show that because the books are going off of prediction as well. And if Haynes King does go undefeated, I think he will definitely have a prime case and be at the top of the list for Heisman. But again, like I said, the books go off of prediction, and Haynes King in the last game of the season plays Georgia. They obviously predict Georgia Tech to lose that game, and Haynes King will not go undefeated. Will Georgia Tech be in the ACC championship? Yes, 100% if they win out besides that Georgia game because they will be undefeated in the ACC. But the reason why Haynes King is at plus 2,500, and I don't think he's going to win the Heisman because to do so, he would have to go undefeated with this Georgia Tech team, and that is not going to happen. That's why he's at plus 2,500. It's not where he's at now, it's where they predict Haynes King is going to finish. Haynes King, I think he has tremendous impact. I think he arguably has more impact to his team than anybody else I'm going to talk about on this list. Is he the best player in the country necessarily? No. Is he the best quarterback in the country necessarily? No. But when we look at what he brings to this offense and completely taken hold of the whole offense, when you look at his rushing ability, passing ability, everything he does for this offense, I think he completely uplifted Georgia Tech. But I think if you're going to be the Heisman Trophy winner on a Georgia Tech team, you have to go undefeated. The books know pretty much that is a low chance of happening. Again, in this new age of college football with upsets, you definitely don't want to count anybody out, especially a really good Georgia Tech team. But we know Georgia is going to be the favorites in that last game, and that's why Haynes King is so low on this list. But again, right now, nobody has more impact than Haynes King, and Haynes King right now, you could argue, is having the most impressive season out of any quarterback. But like I said, they do this stuff off of prediction. That's why his odds are so low. Next, we're going to go into Jeremiah Love at plus 1,800. I really don't see Jeremiah Love winning this award for multiple reasons. Again, he has about 800 yards rushing in these games. Again, I don't think that's over wildly impressive. Again, I didn't expect him to have an Ashton Jeanty type season like last year. But when we were previewing the Heisman Award winners, making our predictions in the beginning of the season, I said he did not have to have an Ashton Jeanty like season because the candidates would be a little different. Obviously, this race is a lot more wide open than last year, but still, I don't think he's having an out of worldly season. Do I think he could possibly be the best player on this list? Yes. Do I think he had huge games this season? For sure, 100%. We've seen 3-4 touchdown games out of Jeremiah Love, but the stats aren't overly impressive. And to be a non quarterback to win this award or any MVP Heisman type award is super hard. Again, I don't think his season is, again, through the roof with impressive. And for a running back, you got to make it, again, otherworldly to win the Heisman Award. I don't think he's going to do that. I think Notre Dame's losses also hurt him as well. If they were to come out with at least one of those wins against Miami, against Texas A&M. I think that would help his case a lot, and it doesn't help him at all that his worst game, the game where he was used the least, had 30 rushing yards, was against Miami, and they did lose that game. I think that falls into the Heisman race as well. Again, do I think Notre Dame is going to go undefeated? Yes. Do I think they're going to run the table? 100%. I think they're going to make the college football playoffs. And I think Jeremiah Love is a spectacular player. When we look at all these Heisman odds, he could go first in the NFL draft above all these guys. But again, I don't think his running back season is otherworldly, something that we don't see, once in every 10 years. And I think that's what you need to win it as, a position player other than a quarterback. I don't think Jeremiah Love's going to win it, although I think he's a spectacular player. Now we're going to go with Gunnar Stockton plus 1,500. My issue with Gunnar Stockton right now is I feel like Gunnar Stockton and what he did in the Tennessee game, in the Ole Miss game, I feel like he has key Heisman moments. And I feel like you don't necessarily need to have a Heisman moment, but I think it definitely plays into the voting. I think he has those Heisman moments. My issue with Gunnar Stockton is right now, I do not think he is one of the three best quarterbacks in the country, game in and game out. I think he has very impressive late finishes. Again, Georgia has one loss. If you see the people who I talk about who are above him in this list maybe flame out for a game or two, he could take advantage of that and skyrocket up. Georgia still has a bunch of games where they're gonna have to win. They're in the SEC. We also said they play Georgia Tech, who's a very good team right now. But again, my issue with Gunnar Stockton, while I don't believe he's going to be the Heisman, game in and game out, I don't feel like he's been the best quarterback all year. I feel like there's 3, 4 people on this list that are playing at a level above him. Do I think what he's done in Heisman moments, when we look at late finishes, how clutch he's been in 2 major wins, that definitely falls into it, and I believe that's why he's that high. But again, I don't like Gunnar Stockton for this award. I don't think he is playing like one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the country, and I also believe for him to win this award, again, you're gonna have to see guys in front of him kind of flame out. So it isn't really in his hands anymore. I think it's really based on the pool in front of him, how they perform, and if he could get a leg up on them. Then we're gonna go into Diego Pavia plus 800. I like Diego Pavia for this award. Again, you're talking about another guy where his team completely exceeded expectations. They have one loss right now. My issue with Diego Pavia, and the only reason why I believe he is at plus 800, again, do I believe a couple of quarterbacks in front of him are playing better than him? I do believe that, but I also believe his odds are a little bit lower because they do expect Vanderbilt. Again, we're looking at predictions. That's how the books make these odds. They do expect Vanderbilt to have a tougher time going undefeated. They do play Texas, they do play Auburn, they do play Tennessee. They have to go undefeated in those matchups. When we look at the 3 teams in front of them, the 3 players in front of him, whether it's their schedule or whether it's how good their team is, they're in a little better spot to go undefeated than he is for the remaining of the schedule. That's why I believe he's plus 800. But again, Diego Pavia is now we're getting into these top 4 candidates, but I believe Diego Pavia could definitely win this award. When you look at expectations, if he were to go undefeated and light it up, I believe now this is where you're getting in to these people where it's truly in their hands. And I believe Diego Pavia could definitely win this award again. It's going to be a little tougher than these other guys, but I think Diego Pavia can do it at plus 800. He just has to continue to ball, and he has to go undefeated. When we look at now these next 4 guys, next 5 guys, you have to remain to finish this season perfect. Now we're going to get into Julian Sayin plus 400. And we're going to go back to what I was saying where I think the people in front of him might have to flame out. Again, Ohio State helps Julian Sayin like no other player in the country when we look at how he goes from game to game. But when you're looking at a Heisman award, and again, it is the best player in the country, it isn't necessarily the most valuable, but that goes into it as well, how valuable you are to your program. Julian Sayin, I want to predicate this in saying, no pun intended, Julian Sayin, I don't think many players in the country, maybe the 1 or 2 players in front of him, could be playing better for Ohio State. I think Julian Sayin right now is a bona fide top 5 quarterback in the country. I think his development has been absolutely flawless. But when you look at a Heisman Trophy winner and how you got to that podium, it's tough putting in Julian Sayin because again, I don't think many players could be playing better than Julian Saint is playing, but you could also put 25, 30 quarterbacks in for Julian Saint right now, and Ohio State would have the same record they have. Because when you look at their defense, they're allowing single digit points. So again, this offense really only has to put up 14 points a game, maybe even less, to win every game they're playing. And then when you look at what he has around him, nobody has a better offense around him. When you look at two guys that are going to be first round NFL receivers, two guys that are going to be stars in the NFL. So again, I think Julian Saint's situation where it helps him in every single game of college football, I don't think it helps him in this award race, unfortunately. Again, if the two guys above him flame out, he could definitely win it because I think he's playing, you could argue, the best ball in the country. I think his development has been flawless. But again, I think his situation kind of hurts him. Next, we're going to get into Fernando Mendoza at plus 325. I think the story with Fernando Mendoza 100% helps with a Heisman case. I think he has been balling. I think, again, when you look at him as a transfer portal guy, and then when you also look at how Indiana in the last 2 years became a true contender, and they even took a step up from last year. Now you're looking at a team that's number 2 in the country, where last year you were looking at a college football playoff team. My issue with Fernando Mendoza and why he's not the top Heisman candidate is I feel like he hasn't had that Heisman moment yet, and you could argue he has because Notre Dame, Indiana has been taking care of the cupcake matchup that they've had to, and we see good teams when they play bad opponents, they dominate them, and Fernando Mendoza has been doing that. My issue with Fernando Mendoza, it just really comes down to the schedule. When we look at Oregon, I believe that Oregon win for Indiana as a whole was their biggest win, and you could argue the last 20 years, and it really elevated them into a true contender. But Fernando Mendoza was not flawless in that game. He threw one of the worst picks of the entire season. He had 215 yards and a touchdown. Like, again, if he would have had lit it up that game and that would have been his Heisman moment, I think he would be number one. But then when you look at Fernando Mendoza in Indiana for the rest of their schedule, it's going to be hard for him to really have his Heisman moment again. He plays Penn State, which again could have been a huge game, but we saw Penn State flamed out. And Indiana's going to really handle the rest of their schedule pretty handily. So Fernando Mendoza, again, I think the story, and if he continues to ball, could definitely make him a Heisman candidate. But I don't think he really truly has had that Heisman moment to make him number one. And then the number one candidate, who I think is the Heisman favorite right now, I was going back and forth again last week, but I think Ty Simpson is playing at a level above everybody else. I think the only thing that's hurting Ty Simpson, which I talked about, is when you look at Julian Saint, when you look at Fernando Mendoza, their teams have been absolutely flawless, where you do have that one upset in the beginning of the season for Ty Simpson and Alabama. I thought last game specifically was a chance for really Ty Simpson to get even a more of a leg up in that Heisman race if they would have beat Alabama convincingly. But again, a lot of things did go wrong to make that game very close for Alabama. I do think the way Ty Simpson stalled out and Alabama stalled out in the third quarter definitely let South Carolina get back in that game. And I do think the biggest thing for Alabama in that game was the fumble they got on Lenore Sellers. I think if Ty Simpson would have came in, lit it up, he could have had a leg up. He did miss a huge pass, a touchdown pass to Jeremy Bernard, I believe, in that game. But again, it came down to a lot of different things in that game. You saw Xavier Brown have a huge drop interception. You saw Ryan Williams have another huge drop. But I think when you look at, again, the collection of people that Ty Simpson has beat, it does make him the top Heisman candidate. Because you look at him, he's beaten Georgia. He's beaten Vanderbilt. He's beaten Missouri. He's beaten Tennessee. You look at the number of ranked teams he has beat. Now they beat South Carolina. They got over that game. He plays LSU. He beats them. He plays Oklahoma. He plays Auburn. Like, the collection of people he has beaten in the SEC, I think makes him the top Heisman candidate. And if he continues to finish this out flawless, I believe he is the one guy where it is truly in his hands, where I think he's playing the best football out of anybody in the country. I think he's a leg up right now out of anybody in the country. If you talk about the number one quarterback you would want in the country right now, it's him. I mean, when you look at him with his pre-snap reads, when you look at his accuracy, anticipation, how comfortably he is in the pocket, he looks like a veteran right now as a first-time starter. I think he looks way more comfortable than anybody else in the country, and I believe he's playing the best football. I believe his resume right now with the collection he has beat, I get it. He has one loss, one really bad loss, but he also has a handful of ranked teams that he has beat right now, a handful of SEC teams that he has beat right now, where you can't say the same for Fernando Mendoza. You can't say the same about Julian Sain. And I think that's why right now he is the top Heisman candidate. Again, it's going to be the top four guys we talked about when you look at Diego Pavia, Julian Sain, Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson. They all have a chance right now. But Ty Simpson can really, make his destiny. If he has a flawless rest of the season, he will be the guy holding the trophy. That wraps up this Heisman update. Drop down below if you think I got it right, if I got it wrong, who you think should be the Heisman candidate right now that should be holding the trophy. That wraps up this episode of Sloppy Saturday.